Welcome back, my friend. It's great to be with you again. Today we're going to pick up in the Gospel of John, chapter 4, right where we left off, verses 10, and we're going to go on through 26. So remember, we were talking about Jesus meeting the Samaritan woman at the well, and his communication with her, his discussion with her. And it gets to the point in verse 10 where she says, "Sir, bring me this living water." Now, it's important to recognize that when Jesus says that he would give living water, he's claiming right then and there to be God. Now, if we were to look back into the Old Testament in Jeremiah 17 and verse 13, God says, "Those who depart from me shall be written in the earth, because," so here's why, "because they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of living waters." And Jesus is saying that he is the living water. So he is claiming to be God. In verse 11, when she asks him, "Where do you get this living water?" Jesus in verse 12 is questioned. How on earth could you do it? Are you greater than our ancestors? Are you greater than our father Abraham? So listen, she says, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where are you going to get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, he and his sons and his livestock?" And Jesus then reminds her, coming back to the physical, "Whoever drinks this water will thirst again." And then in verse 14, "But whoever drinks the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain, a spring of living water to everlasting life." The woman said, "Give me some of that water, Lord, that I may not thirst and may not come back here." And then Jesus said, "Go call your husband and come back here." Now, there's a couple of things we want to see. She, at first, still thinks he's talking about physical water. She thinks if she has this water, she won't have to come back to the well to physically drink water or collect water to drink. Jesus is talking about our spiritual thirst. Did you know that you have a spiritual thirst? Sometimes we try to fill that spiritual thirst with all the things of this world, with money and houses and cars and women or men, good times. But yet at the end of it all, we're no more happy, we're no more fulfilled than before we started seeking those things. And it's because none of those things will satisfy that spiritual longing you have in your heart. Only God can do that through his son Jesus, who claims you as his own by his blood. All you have to do is turn to him. So Jesus is speaking at the spiritual level. At this point, she's understanding at the physical level until he asks her to go get her husband. Now, she says to him, "I have no husband." And Jesus said, "You're right. You don't have a husband. You've had 5 husbands, and the man that you're living with now is not your husband." And that's when she gets it. Because he knew her sin, because he knew all about her, she realizes this is a man of God. This is not just any Joe who's come here asking me for water. Now, she then, because she senses that he's a godly man, kind of tries to shift the subject a little bit and starts asking about where to worship. So in verse 19, she says, "Our fathers worshiped on this mountain, and you Jews say that we have to worship in Jerusalem. Which is the right place to worship?" And Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither worship the Father on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. Right? Now in Genesis, God told Abraham that all of the world would be blessed through him. And when we follow Abraham's line, we come to Jesus. So it is through Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the Jewish Messiah, through whom all of the world will be blessed. And in verse 23, Jesus says, "But the hour is coming and is now when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." So what is he saying? It's not where you worship. It's the attitude of worship. It's that attitude of worship that we give to our God, because he is everything. And this God who holds all things in his hand, my friend, loves you and wants you to know him. That's how good our God is. Now, in verse 25, this all dawns on the woman. And she says, "I know that the Messiah is coming," who is called the Christ, right? Christ is the Greek word for the Jewish word Messiah, the Savior, the anointed one, the chosen one, the one who is to come. So when he comes, he's going to tell us everything. And then Jesus says to her right out in verse 26, Jesus said to her, "I who speak to you am he." So Jesus right then and there cuts through it all and says, "Ma'am, you're right. And guess what? I am the Messiah. I am here to tell you." Now, my friend, I hope that you will join me the next time where we look at how the woman reacts to Jesus saying that he's the Messiah. And I think you might be pleased to see that she does what I'm trying to do. She goes and tells others about this Messiah, as I'm trying to tell you about this Messiah who has come for you, who calls to you. Will you answer? God bless you, my friend. We'll see you next time. We'll pick up right there.